Hey everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com. It's Sunday, early evening, about 6:30 on August 2nd, 2015, and we're going to take a look at the S&P 500 chart. We're going to review the week and also see if anything of consequence took place on Friday, and I'll give you a heads up. The week was pretty uneventful because, as a matter of fact, the past 2 weeks have done almost exactly what the chart said they should do, and we'll talk a little bit about why I say that. But first, I want to remind you that the website and the video are for educational purposes only, and nothing stated at the site or in the video is intended to be used as investment advice. I can draw lines on charts, but you have to draw your own conclusions from your own research and make investment decisions that are suitable for your personal financial situation. I am not a licensed financial professional. I'm just a guy who draws lines on charts. So let's take a look. So I mentioned that the past 2 weeks have really done what we thought they were going to do. And let me just illustrate how that is. The week before last was this little 5-day period here. And because we were up here at resistance, very close to resistance on the Friday before that week started, we knew that there's a good chance that the market was going to reverse up here and that we were going to come down, with the idea being we would find support on either this line, or this one. And this one was really the one that I think had the strongest case for support. So, how did that week work out? Well, we came down to this line. And of course, last week is what happened right here. And we, on Monday, completed the trip down to backtest this broken resistance line. And then we found support and started back up. Now, because I have a little bit more time on the weekly reviews, and also because of the fact that that's what happened last week, I don't think there's any great need to go into a lot of detail, because in the broad picture here, we're still looking like we're possibly making an inverted head and shoulders pattern. I say possibly because until we get that pattern completed with a trip up to this neckline and then a breakout, nobody can say this is an inverted head and shoulders pattern. We can say it's a candidate for a head and shoulders. We could say it's a potential or a possible inverted head and shoulders. But I cannot, in clear conscience, say this is an inverted head and shoulders pattern. This could work out differently. We've got to see this line get broken now. Then we can say yay or nay with some degree of certainty. So anyway, here's that resistance line. You can see that we made it up here. Then we backtested this broken resistance line. Remember, broken descending resistance, if you get a good margin on the breakout, I'm not talking about popping up over it by a fraction of a percent, I mean you get a good solid move above this kind of a line, you typically, with that move, and I cannot explain to you why this is, but it is very typical for that breakout over this line to flip the function of what this did previously. So this used to be resistance, we broke out over it, now it's support. Now it makes sense why a horizontal line would do that. And we've talked about that before. We've talked about the fact that a horizontal line, if it breaks down and you can't get over it, that tells you that people are selling every time they get up to this line. Well, I'll tell you what, let's use this as an example, because this is one that's alive and active right now. We come up to this, sellers. Okay, people who were down in this area, maybe thinking, gee, if we could just get back up to about 2130, I think I'd sell, because I missed my chance back on the week of the 22nd. So the S&P reverses, comes back up to about 21 to the 2130s. What happens? They sell. That's why you get resistance. People selling at the same point. Okay? If we get over this level, then people who sold here and here, and some will sell before the breakout if we get it, those people, if we get a breakout, they'll go 2165. I never saw that coming. Hey, I'm putting in a buy order. I'm going to get back in if the S&P or my individual stock or component of the S&P, if it comes back to where I feel like I sort of missed the train. So that's why lines flip their function. So right now, I am looking for this line to continue to be support. This may be the only test we get. Okay, what we saw on Monday of this past week could very well be it. Now, one thing I want to say real quick, this level of attack that we had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is just really pretty steep. If you look at some of the other moves that we've made, they have not been this steep. Here, I'll make a parallel line here, and we'll just slide this over here. Like, look at that. You know, nothing over here was that steep. This was pretty steep, but close to being as steep as this over here. But all of this to say that it does not surprise me that we fell underneath our little short-term, and I'll say, yeah, short-term trend line here on Friday. We had come on Thursday to a junction between resistance right here and support, and we came down underneath this line. And look, it's kind of interesting if you watch this. This is not really a tradable thing, but you can see once we kind of squeezed just a bit under this line, we sort of moved with it for a while, then started to slide back down. Now, the overall impression here is still consistent with the formation of a right shoulder. I'm not overly concerned about this this little break of that short-term trend line. It reads a little better there. And I mentioned also throughout the week that a lot of times when you have inverted head and shoulders patterns, you have some degree of symmetry in the pattern, meaning the left shoulder is often sort of similar to the right shoulder. If you look at the head of this, and again, I'm saying this is an inverted head and shoulders pattern, but I want to add, I'm calling it that just so I can use a simple term that you understand rather than going this inverted head and shoulders candidate. When I talk about what I'm talking about right now, I'm talking about an actual real live confirmed inverted head and shoulders pattern. Often they will have symmetry. And I was saying the head, for example, you had a move down, and then you had 3 dips, then you had a move up. That's a very symmetrical looking formation right there. Down for a week, wiggling around for 2 weeks, up for a week. Prior to that, we were over here on the left shoulder for about 4 weeks. So, it is possible that we could see a right shoulder that lasts 4 weeks. So we may not be coming back up to this line this week. We might. As you know, if you've been a subscriber to sp500chart.com for any length of time, you'll know that we went through a period, I think about a year and a half to 2 years ago, where we kept seeing these inverted head and shoulders possibilities that would make a nice left shoulder, a nice dip for the head, and then just this little tiny, the word I want to use it, this is a dip and this is a bow, like a person would gesture. You dip like from the waist or from the knees, and this is a full bow. We would get this little curtsy over here on the right shoulder, just a tiny little move, then break out. So that's why I mentioned that hey, we've seen some strange stuff happen over on right shoulders. We may see that again. So what do I look for going into the week? Well, again, I'm looking for support, because we did break this very, very, very short-term support line. So that tells me we're going to very possibly come down and test some of these previous lines of support. And I think even 2100 could possibly hold. We may turn back up right here. I don't know for sure. All I can say is what I don't want to see happen, and what would call this whole pattern possibility into question, would be if we were to ever trade and close, well, let's say trade, but with a little bit more emphasis on the closing price, underneath the level of the head of this potential pattern. So, I got no real strong sense for where we're headed tomorrow. I think tomorrow is one of those days where I just kind of have a neutral outlook. I'm stepping back from it. I'm going to say, show me what you got. And I think eventually we come back to test this level up here. Now, if we don't, and we end up trading lower than the head of this pattern right here, then this could be a failed pattern. Or we could, in retrospect, look at this larger thing we've got going here that spans this line that I've just highlighted, and it could be that this ends up being a very long and drawn out and fairly complex head and shoulders top. But I'll have to tell you, while it has some of the features that one might see in a reversal pattern, it's not very tall, and it really doesn't tell me that the head area of it right here pulled in a lot of emotional buying. So there's something about the possibility of this being a top that doesn't look quite right to me, because usually when you have a head and shoulders top, you have a nice differentiation between your left shoulder and your head, and what that head, that peak that's right in the middle of the pattern usually represents is inexperienced or impatient investors or traders who are chasing the market. So, hey guys, let's just let this week teach us something instead of me trying to force it into some mold, because I just don't have a real strong sense for where we're going to be going on Monday. So, let's just say that our inverted head and shoulders potential is still there. We saw 2 good weeks that behaved pretty much as expected. We got a little lower than I thought we might in this past Monday. I had originally thought that we would probably not go lower than these 2 points over here that marked the bottom of that left shoulder. But if you look over to the right shoulder now and see where that line is, we didn't go much lower, and I can live with that. So let's see if we end up back at our purple line within the coming days and weeks. And if we do, then we get on breakout watch. If we break out, then we have a nice target of about 22.25. So stay tuned with me. And if you are not a subscriber to SP500chart.com, I want to encourage you to consider it. It doesn't cost much. There are people who charge a lot more than what I do, and I don't think they do a daily video. As a matter of fact, I don't know of anybody who does a daily video of the S&P 500 like I do. So think about it. Go to SP500chart.com. Look, it's less than a cheap cup of coffee per day. If you can buy yourself a cheap cup of coffee per day, think about buying me one and signing up for SP500chart.com for the daily technical analysis updates. And hey, thanks for watching. And to current subscribers, thank you for your support.